Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mighty JJK channel and the 71 Ford Thunderbird build. Alright, so here's the engine so far. I assembled the pulleys and the fan, and I added the alternator and that bracket that I made. On the engine itself, I searched the spares and found these, and I'm going to use these as like the bracket or holder for the wires as they come from the distributor and then down to the cylinders. I put the carburetor on, so that is the new distributor that I made. That bottom from here down is the old part, and then from here up is the new part. This side, I did the oil filter. Once the engine is in place, something like that up to the radiator. You can see the opening there for that. I have to take that battery down, trim this back some more so it goes down further. The opposite on this fluid container, take that down some more so it goes down further. So to wire the distributor cap, I'm going to be working from this reference here. I'm not sure where those go down on the side, but at least this gives me some reference of which side each hole should go on. So beginning with this longer piece of wire, basically I want to go from the distributor across this bracket piece down to the hole. I just want to cut 8 pieces about that long and then trim them as I go along. So I think I should just glue 8 of them in there and then pull them in the direction per the reference. Putting medium super glue in both the hole and on the wire, I insert the wires into the distributor cap one by one. I want this piece, the radiator, up as high on this wall as possible. The hood rests on this surface here. When the radiator is in there, that cap has to be below the surface of that wall, and that puts it way down, or at least in my opinion too far down. So what I want to do is get this up as high up on that wall as possible. So like right about there would be right, but you see the cap sticks up. I'm going to notch out this piece right here and then notch out a little bit below it and then reattach this piece to bring that cap even with the surface of the radiator. That way you'll still have all the detail, but it'll be up higher and I think fit the fan better when it's all together. Much better. So now that's higher up on this wall. Cap is still on there, and the surface for the hood to rest on is smooth and clean and ever so slightly above the radiator. The next thing I want to attempt is to bring out the white lettering in these dashboard dials. And I watched a couple of other modelers do it. Basically, since this is an enamel, you want to use highly thinned acrylic to just make a wash, a black wash, and just drip it in there. The highly thinned acrylic lays in there, dries, evaporates, leaving the black, and it stays low enough where it's below the white letters. Working from this reference, I'll start by getting all these on the correct side. Consulting references, I pull the wires in the correct direction and bend them into place. Then one by one, I pull the wires across the bracket and glue them into place with medium super glue. Then bend the wires down toward the cylinders in preparation for the next step. And then pull the wires toward the cylinder, bend them into place and give it a little slack, then cut it off and test fit it in the hole. Then I apply medium super glue to both the hole and the wire and place the wire into the cylinder hole. I repeat this process for all 8 cylinders. Alright, so here's the wiring. You know, for my first attempt, I think it came out okay, I guess. I got a little sloppy with the super glue. They all go over their brackets and then down to the cylinders. For my very first try, I'm satisfied. I painted silver highlights on the fan assembly and the master cylinder. Then, using sticky tack to get exactly the right placement for the exhaust manifolds, I glued them in place with Tamiya thin cement. So I have this lined up on this line, so you can see on this line here this is over, so I'm going to cut that back. I think they both have to be drilled out a little more. Move that to there. Yeah, I think that's going to work. Alright, I suppose I can live with that. Painted the inside of the air filter pipe black and then touched up parts of the fan assembly. I revisited the dials and gave them a second coat. The next thing I want to do is weather or dry brush the bottom of this and the top of this firewall and the detail there, and then this front. Got a large, medium, and smaller hard bristle brushes, paper towels, silver paint, this one. So you dip the brush in the paint, rub it out onto the paper towel until you think there's no more paint on the brush, and then rub the brush against the model. It's pretty straightforward, but it does take a little practice. And then went back with the black to tone down the silver in a few different areas. Okay, another thing just arrived, the Tamiya Fine Surface Primer. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I don't prime my planes. I've pretty much learned that if I clean the surface really well, that I don't necessarily need a primer, but all the car building videos I've watched, everybody primes their cars. So I'm gonna follow suit. Everybody raves about this, so I'm gonna give this a try. White, because I figured white would look the best under the light blue, because I'm trying to achieve as close to white with that light blue as possible. So we'll see how that works. I feel like this is still a little too shiny and just kind of doesn't have the right finish. So I'm gonna hit it with some dull coat. Okay, so that had pretty much exactly the effect I hoped it would. I don't know how much you can tell on camera, but it just has a better tone to it. Not just tone, but finish. So I'm happy with that. I used Tamiya tape to mask underneath the hood all the areas that are to remain flat black. And then also made templates to mask the areas that are to remain black underneath the hood. And then wipe down the entire model one last time to make sure there was no dust before I applied the primer coat. It's maybe 20 minutes later. All this is dry, at least to the touch. A couple little dimples right here. But I think I wet sand those out. I watched a video on wet sanding. On here, while it was wet, going on there, I did see a couple of ripples, yep. And I could feel them on the end on this side here. Now that that's primed, I'm real happy with the way that came out. It looks like the real thing. First thing I have to do is do the inside of that cylinder in black. Then fill those with Future. Let that dry. I'm ready to put the Pledge Floor Wax, the clear acrylic, in the dials. So I had built them up with the black wash, leaving the numbers and letters raised. So that seemed to have worked okay. That center bump is actually chrome. Give the Molotow pen a first try. There, hopefully you can see that, the letters and the chrome center. It's the next day and this primer is fully dried now, and I'm looking at it, it's not as bad as I thought. I mean, it really dried down and sucked down onto there. So what were kind of like bumps yesterday are now just like ripples or whatever. So I'm using the 8000 to 1200. I think this is a little more abrasive than that, but it's like very light. I'm just lightly going over where I can see them holding up to the light. I mean, yeah, yesterday they were like full-blown bumps, and today they're just little knobs. And that's all it takes to get rid of them. Okay, I'll confess, I see the reason for primering now. It enables you to see like rough edges that you thought were already like clean. So I cleaned up this side. You probably won't be able to see it on camera, but you can see how that's nice and smooth now. Whereas this side, which I've yet to do, has this sharp edge that's really actually just minuscule flash that I'm gonna clean up. Yeah, here and there, I get it. It brings out and enables you to see flaws more easily. So I may have adopted a new technique across the board. I wanna actually finish something in this video. So I don't think it should harm anything for me to complete building the engine. So at least I can say the engine is done. So I saw a technique on YouTube where basically you paint this and then you make a wash out of this color and fill it back up with the wash, similar to how we did the dials, doing the first step of that. So here's the completed engine. Air filter is just on there with sticky tack. I may have to bend those wires down even further to get that air filter to sit down lower. You can see the bracket I built. I think that works good. It like attaches it to the engine block. I did some chrome on some details down in there. Pretty happy with the way the wires came out. The holes in the cylinders are probably too large. I think my distributor looks good. I'm kind of happy with that. All in all, I'm pretty happy with the way the engine came out for my first one. I'm going to fill in areas that should be shaded or black, and I'm going to fill in also in here the darker areas. So basically that's going to be in this like stripe right here where the Thunderbird is. Again, same technique as the dials, flooding that with a dark wash and then letting it dry. And then on the grill, I had tested it here and I like the effect here, so I'm going to do that in the grill. Halfway through, I finished those recesses. I got the black down in there. I did around these headlights, but not around these yet. So you can kind of see the difference there. So there you can kind of really see the difference in color with the wash in there between this side and this side. Do a little bit to kind of show you how this works. You just really just wash it over there and let it fill in. Here's the same technique applied to the rear bumper. You can see there the Thunderbird is still sticking up, and you know, look how it came out on the center of these hubcaps. Again, I just flood the area with the wash around that Thunderbird and then just let it dry down. And the same thing in all those recesses. I'm super happy with the way that came out. So that's a pretty cool technique. Okay, so that's it for this video. And in the next one, I'm gonna attempt to bring all this together and finish up the model. So as always, thanks for watching and happy modeling.